My name is Michael Carter, aka S.H.I.E.L.D. Agent Red Right 88. Last year, S.H.I.E.L.D. Director Phil Coulson assigned me to disseminate recently discovered files detailing the early exploits of my great aunt, S.H.I.E.L.D. Agent Peggy Carter. I thought my mission was over. However, a new series of documents covering Agent Carter's exploits in California was recently discovered. This is Season 2 of the Whimsical Adventures of Great Aunt Peggy. I've been driven into the sub-basements again because somebody just had to tie up the office computers playing Street Fighter V. Anna Jarvis was stabilized but lay in a coma. Naturally, Edwin wasn't taking it very well. Peggy returned to Stark Mansion where Sousa was waiting. Masters had recently placed Sousa on leave in hopes of getting Agent Carter to give up the Zero Matter bombs. Carter and Sousa went after mobster Joey Manfredi, who was Agnes Cully's ex, to try to make a deal for the bombs and Wilkes. Manfredi relayed the message to Cully. On the bright side, Anna Jarvis came out of her coma. Unfortunately, the surgery left her barren. Carter and Sousa then called Dr. Samberly, who was able to rig up some facsimiles of the Zero Matter bombs. Jarvis then showed up, and he wanted to come along as well, in order to get revenge for Anna. It was then that Howard Stark wired a series of designs for a machine that could save Wilkes and take out Agnes Cully. Samberly was assigned to work on Stark's specs. Chief Thompson then showed up at the mansion and showed Peggy a file that could possibly destroy her. She chose to ignore these threats. The exchange began to go down. Peggy was greeted by a now tangible Wilkes. The exchange went off without a hitch until the suitcase cracked open, leading Agnes Cully to realize it's a fake. Agent Carter, Jarvis, and Sousa grabbed Dr. Wilkes and fled the scene. As they fled, Carter informed Wilkes that Stark had sent over designs for a gamma cannon. Wilkes snapped and began threatening Agent Carter for information on the missing Zero bombs. Sousa gave up the bomb's location, and Wilkes fled, rejoining with Cully and Manfredi. Cully then called Agent Masters to set up an exchange for the bombs. Carter and Sousa arrived at SSR headquarters and found the bombs gone and Chief Thompson with his memory erased. Trying to retrace Thompson's steps led them to discover Masters' connection to Agnes Cully. Didn't they already know that Masters and Cully were working together? Thompson joined Carter and Sousa, and though Sousa tried to break it to Peggy that Wilkes was no longer on their side, Peggy denied it. Samberly finished work on the gamma cannon, and Jarvis then left Rose a few items to give to Anna should the worst happen. The five then left to stop the Zero Matter explosion. They arrived too late, and the bomb went off. Cully and Wilkes walked towards the rift caused by the Zero Matter, and Wilkes heard a voice. Cully didn't. Suddenly, Wilkes was elevated into the rift. The five set up the gamma cannon, and there was only enough for one shot. Jarvis then stormed off to take out Agnes Cully. Sousa, Samberly, and Thompson fired the gamma cannon and closed the rift. Wilkes then fell to the ground unconscious. Jarvis arrived and shot Agnes Cully. It didn't really stop her. She then had her men take Carter and Jarvis hostage. Okay, look guys, I know there was like a musical dance sequence dream thing that happened to open up the episode. I'm just going to skip over it. I'll give my reasons for it later. Agent Carter came to in the back of a truck. She freed Jarvis and began chewing him out over his actions. They then set about trying to break free. This would leave the two wandering through the desert. The two continued arguing until Jarvis brought up the many deaths that Peggy had been responsible for. Peggy brought up that her job isn't fun. People can and do get hurt and killed. However, it turned out that Cully had discovered their escape and sent people to try and retrieve them. Peggy feigned an injury to lure the truck drivers into a trap, and she and Jarvis returned to the city. Agent Carter then returned to SSR headquarters to confront Masters. Sousa and Thompson then intervened. Sousa explained that Master's working on their side, and they were going to repair the gamma cannon to use on Agnes Cully. The repairs were taking longer than expected, so Thompson volunteered to relay the message to Agnes Cully. She relented, and they finished the repairs. As they left, Sousa's car stalled out. Someone had tampered with it. The two talked to Rose and Samberly. Samberly revealed that Thompson had turned the gamma cannon into a bomb to use on Masters Cully and everyone. Carter and Sousa took Dr. Samberly in an attempt to stop the detonation of the bomb. Despite Sousa's orders, Carter went into the facility to stop, well, pretty much everything. Peggy made her way to Dr. Wilkes, and he told her to leave, but she wouldn't listen. Wilkes said that everything he did was of his own choice. Peggy still didn't listen. So, Wilkes locked himself inside of a boiler room. Samberly finished work on the anti-detonation device, and Thompson discovered it. He pleaded with them to stop. Eventually, he started holding Samberly at gunpoint. Samberly turned the device off.
Okay, this episode had a lot going for it. There was some really good, strong characterization throughout this whole piece. In particular, Jarvis was really strong. Chief Thompson was really strong. Heck, even Joey Manfredi was actually really strong. And I have not been high on the Joey Manfredi character at all. He's just been really cliched. However, this was a real exception to that rule. That being said, it was also nice that Anna Jarvis lived. The effects, especially the Zero Matter, are really strong, really well done, especially for a television show. And there was high tension throughout the whole piece. That being said, there were some pretty glaring deficiencies. First off, while I did like Agent Thompson throughout most of this, his whole blackmail attempt of Peggy was pretty weak sauce. I'm guessing we never find out what was really in that file. Likewise, Dr. Wilkes' heel turn, you could kind of see that coming a mile away once they realized, like, he could have physical contact with Whitney Frost or Agnes Cully or whatever she's calling herself. And you know what? That whole dream sequence musical number I mentioned earlier, yeah, that was so bad. I'm sorry. It's just, I'm right in the thick of things. I'm getting into the mode of the episode, and then it just grinds to a screeching halt for this stupid, forced, undramatic, boring sequence that just came across as filler. They needed to fill 2 hours, and they were able to fill 2 hours. Oh, Lord.
Okay, one last thing I forgot to mention here. This is our second consecutive week of back-to-back episodes on the same day. And from a reviewer standpoint, this is grueling. You try taking notes for 2 hours. It's hard. Look, I get it. ABC didn't want to be preempted by the State of the Union address, but I think they could have easily just pushed back the spring premiere of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a couple of weeks. I don't think it really would have killed them that much. I know that's a bit of a nitpick, but I felt I needed to get that off of my chest.
Yeah, and like I said, I really did not like that at all. And unfortunately, that did majorly drag down my thoughts of this episode. I was honestly afraid that the whole thing was going to be the musical dream sequence. That's how bad this thing was. I have to give these two pair of episodes a D. And with that, I'll see you next time on the Whimsical Adventures of Great Aunt Peggy.